All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning, I'm Sunil Verma and with me Saira Mujtaba. The headlines. India asks China to discipline and control its frontline troops. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to embark on a 3-day visit to Russia today. India endorses a trustworthy and reliable supply chain in Indo-Pacific region. US diplomat says America eager to help India become a world power. Coal India to invest over 1.22 lakh crore rupees on 500 projects by 2023-24. Supreme Court gives telecom companies 10 years to pay 1.4 lakh crore rupees AGR dues to government. And in tennis, Sumit Nagal storms into second round of US Open. India has said Chinese army carried out provocative acts on 29th, 30th and 31st of August, even as talks to defuse tensions went on. In response to a media query on the recent developments in the India-China border areas, External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Anurag Srivastava said India has taken up the matter of recent provocative and aggressive actions with Chinese side through both diplomatic and military channels. He said India has urged them to discipline and control their frontline troops from undertaking such provocative actions. India and China have been closely engaged through diplomatic and military channels over the past 3 months to resolve the situation along the India-China border. The two foreign ministers and the two special representatives had agreed that the situation should be handled in a responsible manner and either side should not take any provocative action or escalate matters and ensure peace and tranquility as per bilateral agreements and protocol. The spokesperson said the Chinese side, however, violated this understanding and engaged in provocative military maneuvers late on the nights of 29th and 30th of August in an attempt to change the status quo in the South Bank area of Pangong Lake. The Indian side responded to these provocative actions and took appropriate defensive measures along the LAC in order to safeguard the nation's interests and defend the territorial integrity. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh yesterday held a crucial meeting with Foreign Ministers S. Jaishankar, National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, Chief of Defence Staff Bipin Rawat, Army Chief M.M. Narawane and Director General of Military Operations. Our correspondent reports the discussion centred around the future course of action after the recent provocations from the PLA and the South Pangong area. Yesterday, Brigade Commander level flag meeting between Indian Army and PLA was held at Chushul to discuss PLA troops' provocative military movements. Meanwhile, Army has said that reports of intrusion attempts by PLA in Chumar are not true. The Army said the activities mentioned in a tweet by a news agency were routine peacetime activities on their side of the LAC and the same cannot be inferred as an intrusion attempt.
Well, news just in. Brigadier level meeting between India and China will be held today in Chushul in eastern Ladakh. The third consecutive meeting between the two countries in as many days comes in the light of the recent provocations from the PLA in the South Pangong Lake area on 29th, 30th and 31st August. The meeting is likely to commence at 10 in the morning and is being held on the request of the Chinese side. India and China have been closely engaged through diplomatic and military channels over the past 3 months to resolve the situation along the India-China border. The two foreign ministers and the two special representatives had agreed that the situation should be handled in a responsible manner and either side should not take any provocative action or escalate matters and ensure peace and tranquility as per bilateral agreements and protocol. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will leave for Moscow today on a 3-day visit to Russia to attend the Shanghai Cooperation Organization or SCO Defence Ministers meet. Mr. Singh is visiting Moscow at the invitation of Russian Defence Minister General Sergei Shoigu and will also take part in the meeting of Collective Security Treaty Organization CSTO and Commonwealth of Independent States CIS. During his visit, Defence Minister is also scheduled to meet his Russian counterpart to discuss bilateral cooperation and issues of mutual interest. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal has said that India wholeheartedly endorses the broad concept of working towards ensuring a trustworthy, dependable and reliable supply chain in the Indo-Pacific region. He said the diversification of the supply chain is critical for managing the risks associated with the supply of inputs, including disciplining price volatility. Mr. Goyal was addressing the ministerial level meeting on supply chains in the Indo-Pacific region. Trade and Commerce Ministers of India, Australia and Japan have underscored the necessity and potential to enhance the resiliency of supply chains in the Indo-Pacific region. The ministerial level meeting on supply chains was attended by Mr. Goyal, Australia's Minister for Trade, Tourism and Investment, Simon Birmingham, and Japan's Minister of Economy, Trade and Industry, Kajiyama Hiroshi, through video conference.
As far as resilient global value chains are concerned, India is very focused to encourage our industry to be a part of global value chains. I had engagement with Australia, Japan, and the three of us have agreed on a new initiative towards resilient global supply chains. Gradually over the years, India landed up with low quality production bases. Wherever other countries are willing to accept Indian standards, they will be open to accepting your standards also.
Addressing the trilateral meeting, Piyush Goyal said that the initiative could not have come at a more opportune time in the post-COVID scenario when there is a likelihood of returning of supply chains in the Indo-Pacific region, and it's incumbent upon us to take the initiative. Referring to Prime Minister Modi's remarks, he said it is the need of the hour that India should play a big role in the supply chains.
Coal India Limited, CIL, will invest over 1.22 lakh crore rupees on development of nearly 500 projects related to coal evacuation, infrastructure, project development, exploration and clean coal technologies in the country. The investment aims at making India self-reliant in terms of coal and achieve the production target of 1 billion tons by 2023-2024. Addressing a stakeholders meet organized by CIL, Coal and Mines Minister Prahlad Joshi said involvement of all concerned stakeholders in company's affairs will reduce and uncover the project risks. He informed that the national miner CIL will be investing around 14,200 crore rupees over the next 3 to 4 years in 2 phases for its 49 first-mile connectivity projects. First-mile connectivity is the transportation of coal from pit heads to dispatch points. Computer-aided loading technology of coal is being developed to replace the existing methodology of transportation via road. Coal India has also identified 15 greenfield projects which will be operated under the mine developer and operator MDO model. The Supreme Court has given telecom companies 10 years to clear AGR adjusted gross revenue dues of around 1.43 lakh crore rupees to the centre. A bench of Justices Arun Mishra, S. Abdul Nazir and M.R. Shah agreed with the centre's plea that staggered payment option be given to bail out the companies. The court, however, made it clear that the companies have to pay the dues without further review as it granted the firms a 10-year window. The Apex Court set a deadline of March the 31st, 2031 for the companies to pay the amount in annual installments. It directed the companies to pay the first installment of 10% of dues by March the 31st, 2021. The current COVID-19 situation and its impact on the telcos, banks and government finances appears to have also weighed on the court. Union Communications and IT Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad has asked the founder and head of the social media platform Facebook to come up with country-specific community guidelines for better representation of diverse views. In a letter written to Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg, the minister raised serious concerns regarding approach of Facebook India management in the 2019 general elections. Mr. Prasad added that there was a concerted effort by the Facebook management in the country during the last general elections to delete pages and substantially reduce outreach of posts which were supportive of the right of centre ideology. Mr. Prasad said that the collusion of a group of Facebook employees with international media is giving a free run to malevolent vested interests to cast aspersions on the democratic process of the country.
The recovery rate among COVID-19 patients has further improved and now it has reached 76.94%. In the last 24 hours, 65,081 COVID patients have recovered and were discharged from the hospitals. The Health Ministry said the total number of recoveries has reached 28,39,882. It said the constant increase in recoveries have ensured that the actual caseload of the country has reduced and currently comprises only 21.29% of the total positive cases. Effective implementation of test, track and treat approach has led to higher recoveries and lower fatality. The guidelines issued by the government for Unlock 4 came into force yesterday. It will remain in force till September the 30th. Home Ministry on Saturday issued new guidelines for opening up of more activities in areas outside the containment zones as part of Unlock 4. According to the guidelines, metro services across the country will resume from September the 7th, while schools and colleges will remain shut. The centre has also allowed religious, political, social and sports congregations with 100 people to take place from September the 21st with the mandatory wearing of face masks and social distancing.
In Bihar, COVID-19 recovery rate has improved to 88%, which is 11% more than the national average. 2,029 patients recovered in the last 24 hours, while 1,928 were tested negative. 15 more fatalities were reported, taking the corresponding tally to 709 in the state. 1,21,601 patients have recovered from the infection in the state so far. 15,954 patients are undergoing treatment in various hospitals at present. The total number of testings has crossed 33 lakhs in the state. Maharashtra government has given a 3-month extension to its earlier decision to reserve 80% beds in private hospitals and nursing homes across the state to treat COVID-19 patients. State Health Minister Rajesh Tope said that while with the availability of beds, the rate of treatment will also be controlled. More from our correspondent.
According to Maharashtra government's recent order, private hospitals are required to treat patients at government rates. The rates in the revised notification also include those on supplying oxygen to a patient. Therefore, hospitals will not be able to charge a separate amount for oxygen supply. The notification also mentions the rates for PPE kit, which will be charged at Rs 600 per day in general wards and Rs 1200 per day in ICU and ventilator systems. The bill should be checked by the appointed auditor. The provisions will make it mandatory for private hospitals to comply with the state government's order and control the rate of treatment as well as provide beds to COVID-19 patients. Madhuri Pange, AIR News, Mumbai.
Karnataka reported the highest number of 9,058 new COVID-19 positive cases yesterday, taking the tally to 3,51,481. Among the new cases, Bengaluru city recorded 2,967 cases, followed by Mysuru 737, Hassan 461 and Bellary with 393. 135 COVID patients lost their lives and total fatalities have gone up to 5,837. A total number of 90,999 active patients are taking treatment in various hospitals in the state. More from our correspondent.
Karnataka conducted a record number of 83,670 COVID tests yesterday. According to the Indian Council of Medical Research, Karnataka has the second highest COVID-19 positive healthcare workers in the country after Maharashtra. A total of 12,260 healthcare workers are tested positive so far, out of which 46 have died. This includes doctors, nurses, pharmacists, lab technicians, Group D staff and allied health workers. All COVID hospitals in Bengaluru have hospital infection control committees to prevent cross-contamination, but the healthcare workers are still contracting the infection. R. Murthy, AIR News, Bengaluru.
In Gujarat, 1,310 new cases of COVID-19 recorded during the past 24 hours. Our correspondent reports that the recovery rate has further improved to 80.73%.
More than 24,09,000 tests have been carried out till date. Out of 1,310 new cases, the maximum 289 new cases reported from Surat city and district. 92 patients are on ventilator. 1,131 patients have been discharged from various hospitals after recovery. Total patients recovered from COVID-19 have gone up to 78,913. 125 laborers found COVID-19 positive from a construction site in Ahmedabad yesterday. Yogesh Pandya, AIR News, Ahmedabad.
In Madhya Pradesh, 1,335 coronavirus patients were discharged from the hospitals yesterday, taking the number of recovered cases in the state to 49,992. There are now 14,072 active cases in Madhya Pradesh. A report.
As per the State Health Bulletin, 1,525 new cases were reported in the past 24 hours. With 32 patients succumbing to the infection, the death toll rose to 1,426. Additional Chief Secretary Home Dr. Rajesh Rajora has informed that along with the relaxations, the guidelines of Unlock 4 have been issued. Legal action will be taken if the guidelines are violated. He informed that keeping in view the requirements for breaking the chain of corona, programs will be organized after making proper arrangements from September 21st in the presence of limited people. There will no longer be a lockdown on Sunday in Madhya Pradesh. Activities like normal days will be conducted. Sanjeev Sharma, AIR News, Bhopal.
In Chennai, the latest Sero survey results show that about 21.5% of its population carried the antibodies against the virus causing COVID-19. More from our correspondent.
About 12,400 samples have been collected at random in Chennai for this sero testing from the 18th July over a period of 11 days. The study has been aimed at detecting the antibodies called the immunoglobulin IgG that fight against the SARS-CoV-2 virus. It was coordinated by the National Institute of Epidemiology. The results came out last evening showing that 21.5% of the public in the metropolis carry the antibodies. The more the prevalence of the antibodies, the more the resistance to the virus, says the city civic body commissioner Prakash. However, there is a huge variation in its prevalence in the city, ranging from as high as 50% to as low as 2%. Jai Singh, AIR News, Chennai.
Amid the rising COVID-19 caseload, the Odisha government has decided to close all state government offices on Saturdays. It has also decided to run its offices in capital Bhubaneswar and the twin city Cuttack with 50% of the staff during the current month. Meanwhile, the COVID-19 cases of the state have gone up to 1,06,561. However, 80,770 patients have also recuperated as reported yesterday.
In our series Experts Speak on All India Radio, we bring you views of leading medical experts on COVID-19. Talking to AIR News, Director at AIIMS in Delhi, Dr. Randeep Guleria, advised the people to aggressively follow the social distancing and hand hygiene norms to check the spread of COVID-19 infection.
Regular hand washing should be done. You should avoid going to crowded places because if someone in the crowd is coughing and has the infection, he can spread to others. Then if any member in your family has fever, cough, cold, he should stay at home and avoid going out so that he doesn't spread the infection to other people in the community.
You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. India asked China to discipline and control its frontline troops. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to embark on a 3-day visit to Russia today. India endorses a trustworthy and reliable supply chain in Indo-Pacific region. US diplomat says America eager to help India become a world power. Coal India to invest over 1.22 lakh crore rupees on 500 projects by 2023-24. Supreme Court gives telecom companies 10 years to pay 1.4 lakh crore rupees AGR dues to government. And in tennis, Sumit Nagal storms into second round of US Open. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will deliver a keynote address to the third Leadership Summit of US-India Strategic and Partnership Forum, USISPF, tomorrow. The summit, titled US-India Week, Navigating New Challenges, highlights areas of Indo-US bilateral cooperation, including in trade and investment, strategic energy ties, collaboration in fintech, healthcare, technology, and India's position in global supply chains. US President Mike Pence addressed the week-long summit on Monday. A top American diplomat has said that the US is eager to help India become a world power, which contributes to net security. US Deputy Secretary of State Stephen Biegun indicated President Donald Trump-led administration's willingness to support New Delhi with best-in-class defense capabilities. Biegun made the comments at the third India-US Leadership Summit, organized virtually by the US-India Strategic and Partnership Forum, USISPF. He said the partnership between the world's oldest and largest democracies has gone from strength to strength in the last 2 decades, and that he expects the same to continue. Begum said a net security provider tackles security concerns of its own by forming partnerships with countries which have common goals. The term was coined in the context of India's role in the Indian Ocean as a security provider for rule-based activity. The gross GST revenue collected in August is 86,449 crore rupees. Out of this, CGST is 15,906 crore rupees, SGST is 21,064 crore, and IGST is 42,264 crore rupees. The government has settled 18,216 crore rupees to CGST and 14,650 crores to SGST from IGST as regular settlement. The total revenue earned by central government and the state governments after regular settlement in August is 34,122 crore rupees for CGST and 35,714 crore rupees for SGST. The revenue for the month is 88% of the GST revenue in the same month last year.
The government gave its nod to 27 projects yesterday under the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana for development of integrated cold chains and value addition infrastructure in the country. The new integrated cold chain projects will generate direct and indirect employment for over 16,000 people and benefit nearly 2,57,000 farmers. The government has said that free food grains have been supplied to about 95% of the total migrants under Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme. In the wake of COVID-19 pandemic, the government in May this year had announced a set of economic measures under the Atmanirbhar Bharat package to help mitigate workers across the country. Consumer Affairs Minister said a total quantity of about 2,65,000 tons food grains has been successfully distributed under the scheme up to 31st of August by all states and union territories. The ministry said free food grains have been supplied to about 95% of the total of 2 crore 80 lakh migrants estimated by states and UTs.
State-owned lender Indian Bank has announced a cut of 5 basis points in its marginal cost of funds based lending rate MCLR for 1-year tenure. The bank has decided to reduce the MCLR for 1-year tenure by 5 basis points to 7.3% effective from September the 3rd, 2020, Indian Bank said in a regulatory filing. All new retail loans, housing, education, vehicle and credit to MSMEs are linked to RLLR now. On Monday, the country's second largest lender, Punjab National Bank, had raised its RLLR by 15 basis points to 6.8%, making loans costlier for new borrowers.
Karnataka and Uttarakhand are paired under Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat program to promote national integration through mutual understanding. Those states have established relations through sports, trade and culture. Uttarakhand had inspired people in Karnataka in forest conservation. More from our correspondent.
The famous Chipko Andolan, a Hug the Tree movement of Uttarakhand, had inspired Appiko Andolan in Uttarakhand district of Karnataka. It was Sundarlal Bahuguna, one of the leaders of Chipko movement, who visited the state in 1983 to inspire villagers on the non-violent struggle to save trees. The experiences shared by Bahuguna inspired 146 men, women and children to save Kalase forest. Before the axemen could put the first stroke on the trees, a group of young men, women and children embraced the trunk. The movement gained acceptance from people of the region. This created awareness of the fragile nature in the Western Ghats, which is the source of many rivers. It also encouraged afforestation. In 1984-85, youth clubs came forward to plant 12 lakh saplings in Sirsi area. The state government banned felling of green trees in the forest area. Sudhindra, AIR News, Bengaluru.
In our series on Gandhian philosophy today, we'll focus on the aspect of non-violence as preached and practiced by the Mahatma. Gandhi believed that even when it may appear that some good is being achieved by violent or unfair means, that good is only temporary and will not be of any consequence in the long run. He opined that a true follower of non-violence may accept the violence on self but will not inflict it on others. A report.
Gandhian philosophy emphasizes that in the course of fighting for rights, acceptance of violence and self-suffering should not be confused with promotion of cowardice. Mahatma believed that cowardice is the greatest violence, even greater than bloodshed. For Gandhiji, non-violence was the greatest force at the disposal of mankind and even mightier than the mightiest weapon. Mahatma believed that non-violence is a search for truth and is beyond any limits. The name of his autobiography, My Experiments with Truth, beautifully encapsulates his life and pursuit of truth. It was during these experiments and pursuit that Gandhiji discovered non-violence. Anand Chaturvedi, AIR News, Delhi.
Sumit Nagal stormed into the second round of the ongoing US Open tennis last night. Nagal defeated Bradley Clarn of the USA 6-1, 6-3, 3-6, 6-1 in the first round of the US Open to progress further into the tournament. With this result, the 23-year-old Nagal has become the first Indian to win a singles main draw match at a Grand Slam in the last 7 years. In 2013, Somdev Debarman had reached the second round of the Australian Open, French Open and US Open. And now, let us take a look at today's weather update. The national capital Delhi may experience generally cloudy sky with light rain or drizzle. The minimum temperature was recorded at 26 degrees Celsius and the maximum is expected to be around 35 degrees. Mumbai will have a generally cloudy sky with moderate rain. The city witnessed a minimum temperature of 25 degrees Celsius and will have a maximum of around 30 degrees. In Chennai, the temperature will hover between 25 and 34 degrees Celsius. The city will have generally cloudy sky with light rain or drizzle. Kolkata will have generally cloudy sky with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers. The city recorded a minimum temperature of 27 degrees Celsius, while the maximum temperature will be nearly 33 degrees. In Srinagar, the temperature will hover between 17 and 24 degrees Celsius. The city will have partly cloudy sky with possibility of rain or thunderstorm or dust storm. Leh Ladakh will have mainly clear sky. The temperature will hover between 12 and 32 degrees Celsius. In Gilgit, the minimum temperature was recorded at 18 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be around 25 degrees. It will experience generally cloudy sky with moderate rain. Muzaffarabad may have generally cloudy sky with moderate rain. The place witnessed a minimum temperature of 18 degrees Celsius, while maximum temperature will be around 24 degrees.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. Many dailies carry photographs of the funeral ceremony of former President Pranab Mukherjee. Last journey of ex-president and veteran politician headlines the Asian Age. Ex-president's mortal remains consigned to flames headlines the Pioneer. Pranab Mukherjee cremated with full military honours, writes the Statesman. Indian troops moved at 2 LAC locations on 2 different days to foil incursion bids by China, reads the headline in the Indian Express. China violating bilateral pacts, protocols, says MEA, writes the Tribune. Carrying almost identical headlines, newspapers have reported that telcos have got 10 years to pay adjusted gross revenue dues to government. Telcos may seek review, writes Business Standard. SC spares insolvency and bankruptcy code but batters voter idea, headlines Financial Express. 90% of those killed by COVID in India are older than 40. 69% are men, reports Hindustan Times. In August cheer, auto sales and manufacturing PMI see a bounce. GST mop-up hits 88% of August 2019 collections, reports the Hindu Business Line. Government's counter. Facebook biased against right-wing is the headline in Hindustan Times. And finally, the Tribune has written about Charu Sinha, who becomes the first woman to head CRPF in militancy hit Srinagar.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. India asks China to discipline and control its frontline troops. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to embark on a 3-day visit to Russia today. India endorses a trustworthy and reliable supply chain in Indo-Pacific region. US diplomat says America eager to help India become a world power. Coal India to invest over 1.22 lakh crore rupees on 500 projects by 2023-24. Supreme Court gives telecom companies 10 years to pay 1.4 lakh crore rupees AGR dues to government. And in tennis, Sumit Nagal storms into second round of US Open. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website at newsonair.com. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a nice day.